Tonight, the death of a conservative radio icon, Rush Limbaugh, and
delayed vaccine.
Enough to vaccinate every single American.
The president's new timeline.
By the end of July of this year.
Months after the administration's claim of springtime availability. Plus,
don't speak ill of fellow Republicans.
Republican blowback in the post-Trump era.
I don't want to eat our own. President Trump is the most consequential Republican in the party.
As the former president looms large in American politics. And
everybody's entitled to be treated with respect.
The best and worst.
Culturally, there are different norms.
After President Biden's Milwaukee town hall. And
an Ash Wednesday unlike any other. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
The voice of a giant in the modern conservative movement, now silent forever. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. Conservative talk radio pioneer Rush Limbaugh died today at the age of 70, his wife making that announcement after a year-long battle with advanced lung cancer.
His work influenced a generation of American politics. Jennifer Wishon has more on his life.
Greetings, my friends. Welcome, Rush Limbaugh, and a brand new week of broadcast excellence.
Born with a booming voice and given a name made for showbiz, Rush Hudson Limbaugh III made his mark on America. He boasted a broad vocabulary and command of the English language, which he often used like a surgeon uses a scalpel.
They are tearing down the wall at the border and building a wall around the United States Capitol. Have you heard that?
The Rush Limbaugh Show launched in 1988, a 3-hour daily talk show that grew to attract the largest audience in radio, making Limbaugh an enemy of the left and kingmaker on the right.
You just suddenly have become a national phenomenon, a very popular show. How come?
He spoke to CBN founder Dr. Pat Robertson 2 years into his national success.
I think one of the real reasons for the success of the show is the perception, and as you know, in politics, perception is oftentimes reality, the perception by real people that the primary disseminators of information in this country are shall we say, slanted to the left. Yeah. And here comes the first, and it's really the only national program on radio or TV that has a conservative bias to it, admittedly so, that they can latch onto.
Limbaugh had a knack for articulating conservatism that added depth to what his listeners were already thinking. In 1992, President Ronald Reagan wrote him, "Now that I've retired from active politics, I don't mind that you have become the #1 voice for conservatism in our country. I know the liberals call you the most dangerous man in America, but don't worry about it. They used to say the same thing about me. Keep up the good work. America needs to hear the way things ought to be." Limbaugh's listeners remained loyal through a number of controversies that saw him lose sponsors only to gain new ones. Known for generosity, he donated millions to causes he found worthy. He never had children and was married 4 times, leaving behind Catherine Adams, his wife of 10 years. In early 2020, Limbaugh announced he had advanced lung cancer, and the next night at the State of the Union address,
"Here tonight is a special man."
President Trump bestowed upon him the honor of a lifetime.
"I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom."
To the end, Limbaugh publicly credited his faith in Jesus with getting him through his very difficult battle with cancer.
I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It is of immense value, strength, confidence. And that's why I'm able to remain fully committed to the idea that what is supposed to happen will happen when it's meant to.
For his millions of listeners, Rush Limbaugh was a national treasure who can never be replaced. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Limbaugh's passing prompted former President Trump to break his silence and weigh in on the radio host's legacy, offering condolences to Limbaugh's wife, Catherine, his family, and his fans.
It was a unique guy, and he became a friend of mine. You know, I didn't know Rush at all. I had essentially never met Rush. And then when we came down the escalator, he liked my rather controversial speech. I made that speech that was a little bit on the controversial side, and he loved it. And he was, without ever having met him or talked to him or, you know, had lunch with him or asked him, he was with me right from the beginning.
And for more on Limbaugh's life, legacy, and lasting influence, we want to bring in Ken Blackwell with the Family Research Council. Ken, it's good to have you with us this evening. I know you knew him personally. What was your reaction this afternoon when you heard the news?
Quite naturally, I was disappointed and saddened. Rush Limbaugh was an irrepressible human spirit. He was engaging, he was informative, and he was courageous. But most of all, I think he was optimistic. He, like Lincoln, understood that, you know, the human condition isn't a spectator sport, and America is not perfect, but it is perfectible by good people doing good things and great things together. And he was, like I said, irrepressible in that, with that optimism, and he was sharp-witted, and he used it constructively.
Ken, what do you think will be Rush's lasting contribution to conservatism in American politics?
You know, there's a passage in Luke where we're told to be unafraid, to be unafraid. Rush Limbaugh was fearless, and so he was always advancing on principle, the conservative message. And I think that will be his lasting gift to us. And again, he will be missed, but he will not be forgotten. Rush Limbaugh was a true American patriot, and icon doesn't really grasp his impact.
You know, to your point, many credit him with saving talk radio. I know that you actually, that's how you knew him, was through the radio industry.
Yeah, I was a founding member of Blue Chip Broadcasting. We became the second largest minority-owned broadcast company in the country until we sold to Radio One. But Rush Limbaugh, I knew through a network of personalities and friends. Walter Williams, who was a good friend of Rush's and actually set in for him. And then James Golden, who was one of Rush's longtime producers. A network of friends. And while, you know, I didn't talk to Rush every week, didn't talk to him sometimes over a year, I in fact felt very close to him because we had a network of friends, but because he was such an engaging personality on radio, he really did not like low information voters. And so he did everything he could do to light candles. He didn't spend a lot of time cursing the darkness. He lit candles. And I think that's what made him such a special person.
Ken, if you can, in a sentence or two, at last year's State of the Union, former President Trump awarded Limbaugh with a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Can you talk about his battles from addiction and cancer and how they culminated in that moment?
Well, again, he understood that once he surrendered to Christ, that there was nothing that was unbearable, nothing that he couldn't conquer, or if in fact he had to push through it, he could push through it in confidence that he was doing it, and that he ultimately would spend his time with Christ. And I think that gave him strength.
That's going to have to be the last word. Ken Blackwell with Family Research Council, thank you so much for your reflections.
So good to have you. Well, former President Trump back at it. In a statement from his office, Trump had blistering words for Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, calling him a political hack. That statement coming after McConnell denounced Trump as the insider of the U.S. Capitol attack. McConnell did, though, vote to acquit Trump in his impeachment trial. Trump, in his statement, the Republican Party can never again be respected or strong with political leaders like Senator Mitch McConnell at its helm. Mitch is a dour, sullen, and unsmiling political hack. And if Republican senators are going to stay with him, they will not win again. South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham on Fox echoed Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment: don't speak ill of fellow Republicans.
I'm more worried about 2022 than I've ever been. I don't want to eat our own. President Trump is the most consequential Republican in the party. If Mitch McConnell doesn't understand that, he's missing a lot. But my beef is not with Mitch McConnell because he has the same policy views I do.
And here with us now is Paris Denard, Senior Communications Advisor for Black Media Affairs at the Republican National Committee. Paris, welcome to Faith Nation. You just heard it there, Senator Lindsey Graham essentially making a plea for GOP unity for the sake of the midterm elections next year. With former President Trump's blistering statement about Leader McConnell's remarks after the Senate acquittal, is a civil war brewing in the GOP?
No, I don't believe there's a civil war brewing in the GOP. What I believe is this party is united, and I tell you that because over 74 million people came and voted for President Trump in the last election. President Trump grew our party. Under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel at the Republican National Committee, we invested in an unprecedented fashion to make investments and engagements in the Black community, Hispanic community, Asian American community, and we expanded our party. And more minorities voted for the Republican president than has since 1960. And when you look at where we are today as a party, the RNC just announced a new election integrity committee that is going to be focused on making sure that the voters that go to vote in all the future elections have the confidence they need. We're going to be working with local stakeholders in over 21 states across the country because we believe that this is what we need to do. So the party is united around key issues of election integrity and the values that we hold dear as a Republican Party, values that talk about life and values that talk about small businesses. And that is a clear contrast between what the current administration is doing.
So, Paris, what about the Republicans who don't see Donald Trump as a true Republican? They would put him probably in the populist category. Does the RNC still see him as the leader of the party?
So the Republican National Committee understands that we are a unified group of individuals who are coalesced around principles that are about low taxes, about putting conservative judges on the bench, and issues of life. I know a lot of your viewers care about that as well. When you look at what President Trump did over his 4 years, he was a conservative Republican in terms of what he did from a policy standpoint. Any Republican, any conservative can look back on what we accomplished over the past 4 years and be proud because we did things like opportunity zones and criminal justice reform and deregulation and conservative judges, 3 on the Supreme Court. And he was the first president that actually addressed the March for Life. He was someone who led from the right and led as a conservative. And that is his record cannot be erased because some establishment or some people that are upset don't like
Paris.
To give
Unfortunately,
them the credit
we are now out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to bring you back to Faith Nation soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paris. And coming up, President Biden's big pitch, how his nearly $2 trillion COVID relief plan is playing in the Midwest.
Having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Welcome back. As of tonight, more than 40 million Americans now have received at least the first dose of the COVID vaccine, crossing north of 12% of the U.S. population.
Yep, and tomorrow President Biden will talk vaccines and rally support for COVID relief when he tours a Pfizer plant in Michigan. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us with the latest on that. Ben?
Well, Jenna, President Biden, that is, says we still have a long way to go before returning to a pre-pandemic normal. But to help get to that, the White House has nearly doubled the amount of available vaccines since President Biden took office.
This week, the administration opened
The White House COVID-19 response team reports virus cases have been declining now for 5 weeks and still urge the country to continue wearing masks, social distance, and get vaccinated when it's their turn.
About 5% of Americans have been vaccinated twice. And so what I would say is we're not at the place where we believe that the current level of vaccination is what is driving down the current level of disease. We believe that much of the surge of disease happened related to the holidays, related to travel. And so we believe that now we're coming down from that.
This comes one day after a road trip to Wisconsin, where the president also drummed up support for his COVID relief effort.
It is estimated that if we pass this bill alone, we'll create 7 million jobs this year.
Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill provides $160 billion for vaccinations and testing, money for small businesses, and a $1,400 check for most Americans. Republican lawmakers say it's too expensive.
You don't just throw money against the wall and say, oh my gosh, we're going to show how much we care.
Biden also wants most students back in class for in-person learning by the end of his first 100 days in office. New CDC guidance recommends teachers get vaccinations, but does not require them for schools to reopen.
You'd have a significant percentage of them being able to be open.
The commander-in-chief estimates every American will be able to get a vaccine by the end of July.
Now, Democrats aim to pass Biden's bill by the end of the month. If that happens, those $1,400 checks to most Americans, people could see them as early as mid-March. John, Jenna?
Thank you, Ben. When we come back, we review President Biden's first town hall event last night in Milwaukee after this.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Watch On the Home Front today at 2:30.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
Well, President Biden's message last night laid bare his capacity for compassion and his propensity for gaffes.
CBN News chief political analyst David Brody joins us now. David, let's discuss last night's town hall with the president, starting with what he had to say about China and speaking up on human rights. Let's take a listen and then get your thoughts on the other end.
And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms.
So, David, you just heard what he had to say. Your thoughts?
Well, a couple things here, John. I'll be honest with you. It was shocking to hear him say, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but not much, he's not going to do anything on Hong Kong, on the Uyghur Muslims, on the one-child policy. I'm going to say do nothing. I'm talking about speaking up. He says he's not going to pretty much challenge the Chinese president.
Let's play one clip about what he had to say about vaccines and then get your take on the other end.
What we did, we got into office and found out the supply, there was no backlog. I mean, there was nothing in the refrigerator, figuratively and literally speaking.
Well, David, you just heard President Biden also said there wasn't a vaccine when he came into office.
Right, well, he might want to check his arm. He had the vaccine in December, before he was president. In other words, when Donald Trump was president. Look, I've heard of a thing called Google. And let me just quickly type, there I am. I'm literally typing, oh, look, the vaccine was available under the Trump administration. So this idea that they didn't have a vaccine when he came into office is just not true. I mean, no fact check is needed. I mean, literally, it's just not true.
If it wasn't true or accurate, it definitely was a misspeak there. Well, in answering a question about how his administration would address racial disparities in COVID vaccinations, some are suggesting the president disparaged minorities when he said they don't know how to get online. Let's take a listen and then, again, get your thoughts on the other end.
Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African-American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online.
David, the fallout.
This is a trope that's been out there for a long time, not just with minorities, but also rural communities. This idea that if you live in a rural community or you're a minority in an inner city, that you don't have access to the internet and therefore you don't know how to use the internet. Well, look, I'm not saying there aren't issues with getting access to the internet, but not knowing how to use the internet. I mean, he actually said Hispanics and African Americans don't know how to use the technology. John, what in the world is going on here? This is the president of the United States. If Donald Trump had said these things, all what would have broken loose? I'll say heck. All heck would have broken loose.
You know, one thing that Joe Biden does really well is empathy. Here's a highlight of what he did last night, and then, David, your take on the other end.
You're the safest group of people in the whole world, number one. Number two, you're not likely to be able to be exposed to something and spread it to mommy or daddy. And it's not likely mommy and daddy are able to spread it to you either. So I wouldn't worry about it, baby, I promise you. But I know it's kind of worrisome.
So, David, right there, Joe Biden more in his comfort zone.
Yeah, and this is what he does well, and town halls are typically good for Joe Biden because he gets that interaction with folks in the crowd, and that's exactly what you saw, not just there, John, with the second grader, but also with many of the other folks. As a matter of fact, he told one of the ladies that was asking a question about her son who had this problem not being able to get a vaccine that he said he would like to stay afterwards, after the town hall, and talk to her about it off camera for a few minutes. I mean, this is what Joe Biden does. So obviously that's a positive. It's something that we have not seen at all from we did not see it all from former President Trump. So a big difference on the empathy factor for sure from Joe Biden.
Playing up his role there as consoler or comforter in chief. CBN's David Brody, thanks always for your time.
Thanks, John.
Coming up, Christians are giving up ashes this year for Lent and finding other creative ways to mark the season.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the Sleep Doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Well, finally tonight on this Ash Wednesday, new guidance from the Vatican to sprinkle ashes on people's heads rather than using them to make crosses on foreheads.
That's right. Today, Pope Francis led the Vatican Ash Wednesday ceremony in St. Peter's Basilica and received ashes on the back of his head across the world. Christians are burning ashes at home and watching virtual services, reflecting on this past year and what's been, quite honestly, a very difficult one for many. The effects of the pandemic serving as a timely reminder of what the season of Lent is all about: brevity of life and longing for Christ's return.
It is very unusual to see the distribution of ashes on the back of people's heads as opposed to on the forehead.
I know. That's the day and age we're living in. John, are you giving up anything for Lent?
I'm going to give up all my vices. I'm going to give up vegetables. How about that?
Oh, that's a good one. All right.
Well, thanks for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great evening, everybody.